Hi guys, I think I'm live now. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the session. Just waiting for more people to join in. Good evening, Lakshman. Thanks for asking for the course. It motivated me to do the session today. Yesterday I couldn't do it because I was very tied up with so many things. So I'm just waiting for more people to join into the this thing, and we'll just do a bit of chit chat. So a couple of things we have seen in the last two sessions has been around. uh, around the couple of things we have looked at in the last two sessions in this course, your journey to success. Part one, we saw how you need to invert. I've been talking about inversions in this course. Hi Nitesh, hi Ved, welcome to the session. So three inversions I've talked about, जिसको तुमको करना चाहिए अपने लाइफ में अगर तुमको अपना सक्सेस ट्रैक चेंज करना है. एक इन्वर्जन था, पहला इन्वर्जन था which I told you was that you start looking inside for the answers rather than trying to spray your consciousness into things that you can't control. Start focusing on looking inside, and once you start focusing on looking inside, you start getting a lot of control over your outcomes, and you get a lot of power to control your outcomes. So right, why is mine looks cheaper as compared to others? We keep it. I mean, we don't. That's a question from Akriti. Just a pricing policy, I guess. It's not something. I don't think our course is worse in any this thing, and I don't think a cat course really deserves to be priced at 40,000 or 50,000 rupees. If it's an online space, which is why our pricing is in the 20-25 range, we keep it there. But if you really want yours to be costly, I will definitely consider it to make it costlier. That's something that that maybe we'll consider. But अभी कोई हम लोग का imperative नहीं है उसको करने का. Hi, good evening, Som. Welcome. So coming back, and Lakshman was saying waiting on this. So the first thing we will talk about. Last में बताऊंगा मैं course fees etc. Mindworks etc. And no questions today, please, because this is a course I'm doing on success. So it's going to be the third session of that. I've already done two sessions on this. I'm just waiting for more people. Normally, people take around 5, 7, 10 minutes to get the notification. So please come into my Q&A sessions for all your questions. है ना? So we'll not be doing any questions today. So no question answers today. ठीक है, if you want, tomorrow I'll do a question answer session. उसमें आ जाना Janil and Nitish and everybody else. I'll answer your questions there. And those of you who are watching this as a video later, wait for the 7-8 minute point before I go into the real content for the session. Hi Aditya, I've also stayed in Nagpur for some time, so I know most of those places, Birdi, which is the market area, and what is that that hilly area, Saki Tank, if you're if I'm not mistaken. So Sumit left the exam midway to attend the session. That's good to hear. So coming back, no, it's not my house. It's a green screen. So my house looks similar to this outside, but not this is not my house exactly. But anyway, coming back, it's of course my house. I'm not in a bungalow. I'm in an apartment in Delhi. So coming back to what I was saying was first thing I talked about was, I mean, the whole course has been about creating inversions for your in your life. So one inversion you create is the inversion where you start looking inside for your changes in life rather than looking outside. So you don't try to control things outside yourself. You start focusing on things within yourself, and that gives you immense power to change who you are. Right? That's one. The second point that I was mentioning, that the second inversion that I talked about was the inversion where you start changing your attitude towards picking up challenges, and you start picking up aggressive challenges rather than rather than doing defensive challenges. So I talked about Virat Kohli also in that context. ठीक है ना? तो ये second point था, inversion of your attitude towards challenges. And the third point, I'm not looking at any chats now for the next few minutes because chats tend to end up distracting me from what I have to say. So I'm not looking at any chats because when you are trying to speak, you are looking, your focus has to be on the next thing you want to do, the next point you want to speak, rather than looking, if you're trying to take in information from coming in the form of text, तो वो आपका खुद का flow change कर देता है. So I'm not looking at any chats. So please don't send any chats for the next 5-10 minutes, है ना? So coming to the third point I talked about was the inversion, where you start inverting your attitude towards excellence. So excellence का attitude जब तुम invert करने का कोशिश करते हो तो what your inversion is there is that your life for the last 20 years has been about inverting, for the last 20 years, your life has been about looking for excellence or expecting excellence outside and accepting your mediocrity inside. So that inversion is that you start accepting the mediocrity outside and you only expect intelligence from inside yourself, only expect excellence from inside yourself. So these are the first three major inversions that you start off when you want to change your success outcomes. ठीक है ना? So these are the first three outcomes that you start changing, or the first three inversions that you do. Then today's session, we are talking about the fourth major point that you need to get in place. And as I told you, this is a 4-session course mostly. I think I should be able to conclude this in 4 sessions. So the fourth session, or the fourth point here is the point where we talk about learning. Because once you pick up a challenge and you commit to excellence, you might still fail because of the lack of the ability to learn. Now, I have seen that in my observation about learning processes and learning outcomes that people have had, what I've seen is, and what I've observed for most people has been the first 20 years of your life, learning is very structured. Every year you get a structure of what you need to learn. So when you went from class 6 to class 7th, on day 1 of class 7th, you got a structure of what you had to learn. You're told कि this year in physics you'll be studying this, in geography you'll be studying this, in chemistry you'll be studying this, and so on. So there'll be so many things that you will decide that these are things that you need to study, and it's pretty much structured. And in fact, your learning has gone through phases. The first 3 to 5 years of your life, you from knowing nothing about yourself, by the time you're 3 to 5 years, your physical learning and controlling your own body was completely learned by the time you're around 5 years age. And from 5 to 17, 18, you are in a phase of structured learning where every year the syllabus you're studying, and it continues to some extent in college also, because every year in college also you get a learning agenda कि इस साल ये सीखना है तुमको, whatever subject you're studying. So it's the phase of structured learning. But as you realize in college, that learning necessarily does not get executed. So around the time when you start hitting your college and then you hit your real life situations, when you start hitting your professional life, you start facing what I describe as a learning vacuum. I've talked about that in my Josh Talks video also, that there's something called the learning vacuum, which we all start experiencing around it starts forming at the age of 17, 18. And it starts becoming a monster in our lives by the time we are 20, 21, 22. So if to give you an example of the learning vacuum, let's take 2 phases of your life where you spent 2-3 years and how you changed during those 2-3 years. The first phase I would want to draw your attention to is when you were in class 2. Class 2 से तुम जब class 5 में पहुंचे. Class 2 में you must have been 6-7 years of age, and when you reach class 5 you must have been around 10 years age. Was there a learning outcome between class 2 to class 5 or not? Were you different? Obviously, the answer is yes. When you moved from class 5 to class 8, had you learned more? Was there 3 years of worth of learning between class 5 to class 8? The answer is yes. You had your knowledge, your awareness, your abilities in the class 5th of your school was very different from your knowledge, your awareness, your abilities in class 8 in your school. The two were very different, right? It had increased drastically. But coming back, going far forward, 8th to 11th, there was growth, definitely. But tell me, first year college to third year college, did you grow? As an engineering student, I did not grow at all during those 3 years. Joining first year college to passing out third year college, the growth was almost very, very minute. And as you hit further, as you move out of college further, and you go into your next phases of life, and you go into your professional life, you'll realize that people spend 30 years without learning anything. You actually have people who actually do not learn anything across years together. So you look at your neighborhood uncle, you will see that his behavior 10 years ago and his mentality and his attitude and his behavior, with due respect to people around us, the attitude, the mentality, the behavior of people has been static, and you would see that the level of learning of an individual at the age of 25 and 35 is almost same. So you enter what is described, ठीक है ना? You enter what is described as a learning vacuum, and this learning vacuum is the biggest restriction to your success as you move on in life. Right, so as you move ahead in life, this becomes your biggest restriction to success. So one of your key challenges as you move ahead in a success journey has to be about trying to get rid of this learning vacuum. So what should you do? How should you do it? So just requesting people who are now coming in to the broadcast, please don't put any chats right now, because I'm not reading any chats, so I'll not be answering any chats, because this is part of a course I'm doing on YouTube Live. So I want to be focused on the content I have to deliver. And if I keep reading chats, my thought process gets distracted, and that ends up with a poor delivery of what I wanted to talk about. So I need to get into flow to actually give you something which is of value, and that's the objective of my sessions. If I'm not providing value, then I don't want to waste my time. So coming back to this learning vacuum. So how do you get rid of the learning vacuum? The key challenge, of course, is that you should learn as an adult. है ना? The key challenge is that you should learn as an adult, right? That's your key challenge. Unfortunately, for most people, what they think of when they visualize learning as an adult, or what they visualize when they visualize learning as an adult, most people visualize it as कि गिटार सीख लेते हैं, गाड़ी चलाना सीख लेते हैं. But those are not huge outcomes in terms of they will not give you huge outcomes. तुम गिटार चलाना सीखोगे, unless you become a musician, and unless you become Elvis Presley, it's not going to change your life. So that's not those big ticket learnings or visualizable learnings कि French सीख लेते हैं या Chinese सीख लेते हैं. This is not what learning is all about. मेरे हिसाब से adult learning is making those small fine-tuned changes. And I always talk about the fact that when you talk about getting successful, there's a philosophy. The philosophy is that you make small changes inside yourself to achieve huge results outside. अपने अंदर छोटे-छोटे changes करो, छोटे-छोटे fine-tunings करो, and achieve huge results outside. I'll give you an analogy for this. Suppose you are in suppose your car is underperforming. Your car should give an average of 20 to 23 kilometers per liter, but it's giving only 15 kilometers per liter. So you send it to the garage to fine tune it. So does the garage always need to make a very, very major change in the engine? कि पूरा engine खोल के ठीक करते हैं इसको. Many times you'll realize that it's a small screw that needed to be tightened, and that 15 will go back to 22. So when I talk about learning, I'm talking about these small changes that you talk about, that you make inside yourself, that would give you huge outcomes outside. And when you talk about learning as an adult and learning in the context of challenges, one kind of learning is teachable. I learn how to write, how to use the guitar, and I learn how to drive a car, and I learn how to swim backstroke. That's also learning, fine. Okay? And that's liberating learning also, because it shows you that you can then learn anything. But going beyond this, these kind of things are not going to change your success route. Your success route is going to change only when, or your success achievement is going to change only when you start changing small critical things inside yourself. First, you have to identify what are the fine tunings. So when you go to that mechanic in the shop, he identifies कि कौन से स्क्रू को कितना टर्न करना है, कौन सा स्क्रू ढीला है. वो जब तक आइडेंटिफाई नहीं करेगा तब तक वो ठीक नहीं करेगा उसको. So I can point you to in 3-4 directions, and I told you in the first session itself that I always pride myself in my PDP courses or my personality courses or my self-development programs. I always pride myself on the fact that I'll not only motivate you, but I'll give you something very concrete, tools. That's very important for me in my program, because I've seen a lot of motivators who will just give you something who will motivate you with a story or this thing, but actually will not give you tools to change who you are. So my objective is always different from that. I want to give you concrete tools, which if you use properly, you can actually turn around any situation in your life. And I've already given you 3 of them in the first 2 sessions. The 3 inversions I've talked about. The inversion of your looking inside, starting to look inside for your answers rather than trying to change what's outside, and the power that you get out of it. The second inversion that I talked about was the inversion of picking up challenges rather than running away from them. And the third inversion was starting to expect only excellence from yourself, becoming a 24/7, 365 executor of excellence. That was the third inversion. So today I'm talking about the fourth inversion, where you start becoming a great learner and you have the evidence. You have the evidence of great people always being great learners. You have the evidence of great people always being great learners. You look at all the champions in whatever area. You look at sports में देख लो, large biggest champions को. Sports, I talk about sports a lot because it's the most demonstrative. If you read about the Roger Federer backhand in 2017, 2017 में Roger Federer's backhand was supposed to be the most improved shot in tennis. The most improved shot in tennis in 2017. He came back to become world number 1 at the age of 36. It had never happened before. Right? When Sachin Tendulkar retired, I heard an interview of Sunil Gavaskar talking about why when he saw Sachin Tendulkar for the first time, he realized that this boy is going to go for greatness. He says that in that interview on television, which I heard Gavaskar talking about Tendulkar. He said that as a 13-year-old kid, I was at that time Gavaskar, 1980s. Gavaskar was what Tendulkar became to India. एक टाइम था जब गावस्कर आउट हो जाता था, सब लोग के ट्रांजिस्टर्स बंद हो जाते थे, because you did not want to listen to cricket commentary after Gavaskar had his innings. So that was the stage at which Gavaskar saw Tendulkar as a 13-year-old kid, and Gavaskar was invited as the chief guest to this match. And he says that Tendulkar ko jab maine dekha, so there was this fast bowler bowling to him, and he hit a shot to long on, and he took 1 run. And 2 balls later, the next over, the same bowler, the same ball, and Tendulkar hit the same shot, but he hit it to long on and took 2 runs. And he controlled the speed of the shot the next time. And I realized I've never seen somebody who learns so quickly on the cricket field. And that's why this boy is meant for greatness. Right? This is what was talked about, this thing. And you can in fact watch why somebody like Tendulkar was such a great batsman, because if you try to look at him as an 18-year-old, look at his videos. Look at let's say a ball which is going coming onto his pads when he is an 18-year-old kid, when he's a 28-year-old man and when he's a 38-year-old veteran, you will almost see three different batsmen batting on the same ball. You'll not, it's the same person, but there are three different reactions that you would be able to see. So the reason for his longevity was his continued learning. And it's true in every sport. You look at any sport, you realize this happening. There's a story about Pete Sampras being one of the top US tennis juniors at the age of 14, and he used to hit a double-handed backhand. And his coach and his parents and he decided that he had to win Wimbledon. At 14, he was thinking that I have to win Wimbledon. And this is there in his autobiography, this story. So they decided that you can't win Wimbledon with a double-handed backhand, because in 100 years of Wimbledon, the only double-handed backhand winner of Wimbledon was Bjorn Borg, and he had won it 5 times, and there was no other double-handed backhand winner of Wimbledon in almost 100 years. One or two here and there, but otherwise it was a single-handed backhands game. So at the age of 14, as a top US number one under 18 junior, Pete Sampras decides that I'll go to the single-handed backhand. He's already a number one junior in the US, and he's built for greatness. Everybody's talking about him being the next big US player. So Pete Sampras moves to a single-handed backhand, and he starts losing to everybody around him. Everybody who's the top 10 players in US start beating him. Everybody starts talking about कि इसने अपना game बर्बाद कर लिया. He's talked about this in his autobiography, and I've read that, so I can talk about this. So everybody around him is talking कि इसने game बर्बाद कर लिया, and that generation of the US tennis players was called the golden generation. It was called the golden generation because there were at least 4. There was Andre Agassi, who was growing up as a teenager at that time. There was Michael Chang, who became a French Open champion at 17 years age, who was growing up at that time. So there were at least 4 US champions at that time. It's called the golden generation of US tennis. So 1 year, Pete Sampras loses to everybody around. Everybody's saying कि इसने game बर्बाद कर लिया अपना. And then he comes back 1 year later when his backhand is sorted. He starts beating everybody black and blue. And 3 years later, he goes on to become the youngest champion of the US Open tennis tournament. He announces him on the world stage. So why I'm trying to give you these examples is because you need to realize that champions and in any field, and why I'm talking about sport is because it's so demonstrative. I cannot tell you how corporate executives learn in such a demonstrative manner as champions. So these are indications that great people, great champions in whatever field they go into, they are very good learners, very strong learners. And if you do not become a strong learner, you do not become a great learner, you're always going to be behind your competition. You're always going to be inadequate in front of your challenges. Because देखो 2 तरह के challenges तुम उठाओगे. एक तरह का चैलेंज होता है लाइफ में, यू विल पिक अप 2 काइंड्स ऑफ चैलेंज. एक तरह का चैलेंज होता है लाइफ में जब तुम कुछ उठाते हो और तुम उस पर एक्सेलेंस कमिट कर देते हो, तुम्हारे पास उस चीज को करने का स्किल है, यू हैव द स्किल टू डू इट, सो यू स्टार्ट एग्जीक्यूटिंग एक्सेलेंस, अपने आप वो चैलेंज मीट हो जाएगा. द सेकेंड काइंड ऑफ चैलेंज यू हैव इज वेर यू पिक अप अ चैलेंज, you commit to excellence, you decide to commit to excellence while doing it, but your skills are not adequate to do it. A lot of you face this problems when you face exams, and that's where in such challenges, if you want to overcome such challenges, you need to become a good learner. If you cannot learn, if you cannot teach yourself the right things, then you are always going to be, कितना भी excellence तुम execute कर लो, तुम्हारा outcome नहीं आएगा. जैसे for example, if I start trying to play a guitar and I've never played it, if I start trying to play a guitar, सिर्फ मैं अपने आप को बोलूंगा मैं excellent रहूंगा गिटार प्ले करने पे, without skill development, it's not going to work. If I do a concert on a guitar, no, I'm going to be beaten with eggs and tomatoes. So that's the point. So there'll be challenges in life where learning will be a critical element of overcoming them. A lot of people who take competitive exams are not able to overcome the competitive exams, not because they are not willing to commit to excellence, not because they don't work hard, but because they can't learn the right way. And without this critical component, you cannot hope to succeed in 80% of your challenges in life, because 80% of the challenges in life will not only be about attitude and excellence. They will be about learning. right? So having talked about that, or having said that to you, or given this thing, so if learning is not about learning the guitar, and adult learning is not about learning how to drive the car, or learning geography, or learning ठीक है, learning a subject can still be better learning, but it's not about learning swimming, then what is adult learning all about? As I said, it's about the small changes inside you that give you huge outcomes outside. You start making small changes inside you, and it gives huge outcome outside. One example of that was, as I said, those inversions. They're also learning issues. If once you commit कि मैं जो suppose I'm sitting down to do a maths problem, and I commit to excellence every 5 minutes of my life. Every 5 minutes of my life, I commit to excellence. Yeah, I'll do it to the best of my ability. It's definitely going to improve. I mean, that learning itself is going to change the outcomes of how you study and what you achieve in your study sessions. Other places where you need to look at things that you need to change. What are the small screws that you need to change inside your head so that learning starts occurring? One small screw is the kind of beliefs you have about any activity that you're doing. So let's say तुम डिसाइड करते हो, तुम कोई एग्जाम उठाते हो, IIT JEE का एग्जाम उठाते हो, कैट का एग्जाम उठाते हो, बैंकिंग का एग्जाम उठाते हो. You pick up an exam as an aptitude which requires you to learn how to do maths. So you decide कि okay, I'll give it maximum effort. Somebody's told me 500-600 घंटा मैथ्स पढ़ना है, तो मैं पढ़ूंगा, 600 घंटा दूंगा, 600 घंटा एक्सेलेंस दूंगा. I'm totally motivated. I'm inspired to do this. I'm very motivated to do this. But inside your head, there's a voice telling you all the time, and that voice is a voice of disbelief, which is telling you all the time कि तुम नहीं कर पाओगे, तुमसे मैथ्स नहीं होता है. तो तुम कितना भी एग्जीक्यूट कर दो, कितना भी एक्सेलेंस एग्जीक्यूट कर दो, कितना भी हार्ड वर्क कर लो, तुमसे नहीं होने वाला है. बिकॉज इट्स लाइक you're putting a seed in a desert for a plant that requires a lot of water, and there's no water in the land because it's a desert. So it's not going to happen. It's not going to work for you. कुछ भी कर लो तुम. So these are the kind of fine tuning. So where do you look into your fine tunes? You look into your fine tunes in your beliefs. You look in what are the beliefs that you need to turn around. I don't belong to the best of my generation. I'm not a good student. I have not been a good student. How long can you live with this belief in life if you are appearing for a major competitive exam? I am not the best communicator around. If you're going to be if you're going to be in a life or a career in which communication is required, how long can you live with this belief without affecting your success? I am not somebody who can take risks in life. I mean, these are points on which you've got stuck in life because you've had previous experiences of these. So if you start delving into your beliefs, and specifically your disbeliefs, the I can't statements, you'll find a huge box. Not be a box also. It'll be a huge cistern, a huge tank of statements, which if you start inverting one by one, and you start saying, okay, next 3 months, this one thing I'm going to invert. Next 3 months, this one thing I'm going to invert. So if you start doing these inversions inside your head, you start learning, because you give yourself the opportunity to learn. And whatever effort you're putting into whatever direction you're trying to go, it will give you huge outcomes there. और तुम अगर ये टैंक को लेके बैठे हो, this tank of disbelief, everything that's telling you can't do it. मैथ्स का क्वेश्चन तुम कर रहे हो, तुम्हारे माइंड में बैक एंड में एक आदमी बोल रहा है कि तुमसे नहीं होने वाला है, बिकॉज तुम तो कभी मैथ्स नहीं कर पाए हो. नॉट गोइंग टू वर्क. कुछ भी कर लो, not going to work. Do whatever you want. It's not going to work. So this are the things that you need to start changing. So adult learning as an adult is a consistent this thing, and this is going to be a 40-year search for you. Every time when I pick up a challenge, I do a back end check. I do a back end check. Do I have the belief in place for doing this? तो अगर मैं कुछ मेजर जंप प्लान कर रहा हूँ और मेरे माइंड में आ रहा है कि मेरे से नहीं होने वाला है, तो मैं पहले अपने माइंड को सॉर्ट आउट करूँगा, बिकॉज दैट्स वेयर माई लर्निंग नीड्स टू स्टार्ट. आई नीड टू सॉर्ट आउट माई माइंड. आई नीड टू टेल माई सेल्फ The reasons why I'm going to be able to do this. ठीक है ना? That's the first point. The second point here is, I mean, that's one area where you look for your beliefs, for changing. Look for your what do you say? Your learning aspects or your learning dimensions. Let's call them learning dimensions. The second point where you can start looking for learning dimensions. ठीक है? The second point where you can start looking at your learning dimensions is your habits. That's the second point. I'm just this is not a pre-decided session. This is just coming from my head and from my this thing. I'm just thinking aloud, and I'm trying to look at that equation that is very clear inside my head, and I'm coming up with the next extempore session here. So hi Arminder, good to see you around. And so the second point, the second dimension you look for when you start looking at your this thing are your habits. What kind of habits do you have? You need to do something in which you need to concentrate on something, and you don't have a habit of concentrating because you have a habit of being distracted every time you are sitting for something. Won't work. You have to change that habit. See, why habits become so critical is because on a daily basis, 99% of what you do will be habit driven. What time you sleep, what time you get up, when you're sitting to concentrate, are you able to concentrate or not, how you eat your food, how you talk to people, how you react to external circumstances. You're not going to be inserting your thoughts in every reaction that you have. 99% of your actions on a daily basis are habit driven. How much I raise my hand when I speak? Habit driven. I don't think every time. Right? How much I shake my head when I speak? It's habit driven. It's not something that you keep deciding every day. और अगर तुम्हारे success or achievement में you are trying to do something in your life, ठीक है, you're trying to, please, I've mentioned this for all of you. If you come in now, I'm not looking at any comments now because it spoils my train of thought, and if it spoils my train of thought, the session becomes very ordinary. Then you can go and listen to motivation speeches from anywhere. I pride myself on the fact that I'll give you concrete tools to change who you are. It's not just very easy for me to, I can tell you a story and you can get motivated out of it. So that's very easy for me to do. But if I take a PDB session or a success course like this, my focus is on giving you concrete value. And since it's mostly extempore for me, I have to look at that equation inside my head. If I start reading your chats, I'm not going to look at that equation. ठीक है ना? So the second major area where you start looking for what you need to change is going to be your habits. So look for all the inefficiencies in your habits, and it's again going to be huge, small changes inside, huge impact outside. Let's say you want to get physically fitter, and there's a particular eating habit which is preventing you from doing it. That eating habit will be part of your life has been part of your life every day for the last 15 years or 10 years. And it's going to be part of your life for the next 20 years, every day. And it's the default mechanism you take. Unless you break it, you are not going to be able to change your eating pattern. If you don't change your eating pattern, you will have to do 5 times the work to get as fit as you need to be. So when you if you identify that eating pattern or that whatever you identify a lack of concentration pattern, whatever you identify, I mean, I've not read that book, The Power of Habit, but I can understand what the power of habit would say, because I know the power of habit by myself. So I'll just come to why habits are so powerful. So coming back, let's imagine you have a habit of, let's say, taking a smoke, right? You have a habit of taking a smoke. So every time there's a trigger around you, you're going by car, you're going by your bike, and there's a tobacco shop around, you're by default, your default mechanism is stop the bike, take the fag, have a fag, and move on. That's a default mechanism. Now, you have to break that habit. And when you break a habit, you have to implement a lot of willpower to break it. It does not happen by itself. There's a lot of willpower informed, and when the trigger happens, you're going on that bike, or you have a habit to drink soft drinks, or you have a habit of not concentrating because you get bored with the content in front of you, whatever it is, which is hurting you. These habits are hurting you. I mean, I'm not saying that habits are bad. Some habits will be very good in your life. So if you have a habit of respecting your elders, if you have a habit of listening to others well, it's a great habit to have. If you have a habit of reading things every day, and you cannot do without reading, it's a great habit to have. You want to have that habit. You want to actually protect that habit. You want to strengthen that habit. But then there are habits which are affecting your performance, the habits which are affecting you and your outcomes. उन habits को तुम कितना चलाओगे, and how long will you continue those habits? So when you try break a habit, if a habit has been continuing for 5-10 years, once you identify, so the process of learning is identifying the habits that you need to break for an outcome you need. Right? So in a maths question, if you have a habit of giving up too early, you have to break that habit if you want to improve your mathematics. So coming to the point, so once you identify the list of habits, and you should have this, as I said, this has to be the next 40 years. It's not something which is a 3-month thing कि अगले 3 महीने तक जब तक कैट का तैयारी कर रहे हो, जब तक किसी एग्जाम की तैयारी कर रहे हो, तब तक कर लो इसको. This is a lifelong thing, and you have to live on these principles for the next 40 years of your life. If you continue doing that, you start becoming legendary in whatever you do. And you don't need to call yourself legendary. People will call you that because your work will speak for itself, and your work is what will make you a legend. I mean, if you look at any field in the world, whom do you call a legend? Somebody who's performed, right? So coming back to what I was saying, so one is, at every point in life, you should have the list of beliefs you are looking at changing. The next set of beliefs you need to change. It takes maybe a month, 2 months to change beliefs. It takes around, it said it takes 21 days to change a habit. I read that somewhere. If I have a habit of stopping for that fag, then I need 21 days of continuously not stopping. And if I can do that, then I realize, because habit in that book, Emotional Intelligence, Daniel Goleman has talked about habit as the most practiced response. So habit is something which is the most practiced response, and in the most practiced response, the recency of the response is also very important. So 10 years of executing a habit, if you realize that is optimal, you can change it in 21 days by using willpower. And after 21 days of stopping it, or stopping doing it, you stop requiring willpower, because the new habit starts taking over. It becomes your most practiced response. So identify the set of, when you talk about adult learning, identify the sets of habits you need to change. What are the habits that are impeding your success? You want to become a great corporate leader. What are the habits that are stopping you from doing it? Let's say you have a habit of reacting to external people. Let's say you have a habit and you want to change that habit because it's affecting your leadership status. It's affecting your interpersonal positions in life, in your organization. Let's say you have a habit that you can't work after 6 hours. 6-7 hours के बाद तुम नहीं काम कर सकते. You have that habit, right? So these are habits that you need to change. You need to break those. So जैसे तुम identify करते हो एक habit को which is impeding your performance, then you have to be ruthless against it. You have to be ruthless against it. So yeah, I don't know whether it's 21 days or not. I said I read somewhere. I'm not endorsing 21 days. But what I'm trying to say is that when you try to change a habit, there'll be a band of time. It might be 21 days, it might be 5 days, it might be 3 months. I have never tested it. And there's no way to put a thermometer and check it. Put a thermometer on your head and check it, kitna time lagega. But there'll be a band of time where you'll require a lot of willpower to change that habit. And as that band of time starts passing by, the amount of willpower required starts reducing, because you would have left it out. That habit would have started becoming loosened in it. It was a very embedded habit in your behavior, and that habit has started getting loosened in your head. And the basic, I started this course on the first day with a with a simple philosophy, and that philosophy was that if I continue doing the same things, I had given that example of that bottle with a cap on it, and if I continue doing the same things, the height of stupidity is to assume that next time the result will be different. So if you want to change the results from the world, you have to change how you behave, and 95% of your behavior is dependent on is built on your habits. So if you change your habits, your behavior changes and your outcomes start changing. So this is the key points that I wanted to talk about today. So for me, learning as an adult is not only about it's about it's not only about learning the guitar or learning swimming, as I said. For me, learning as an adult is these fine tunes that I need to keep doing in my life so that I become a slightly better version of myself every day. If I keep improving 2%, 3% every day, over a period of a couple of years, I'll be 1,000 times better than what I was earlier. So that's the whole point of what I wanted to talk about. That thanks a lot, everybody, for attending, and I will come back to you. You want a Q&A today? Do you want a Q&A? Because I don't want to spoil this video, so I don't want to get into a Q&A session towards the back end. So, or we can do a Q&A tomorrow if you guys are okay with that. I have committed to you that I'll be consistent on this for the next 100 days. तो कल मिलते हैं कल शाम को we'll meet sometime on the Q&A, right? So whatever, the Q&A is open. You are free to ask me questions, etc. So all these questions about LRDI, we'll of course have all the videos coming up. Do follow the Arun Sharma Academy also. Uspe I might do a live session today in some time on the Arun Sharma Academy, on which I'll be doing maybe slightly later. I'll be doing some quants questions from the UPSC 2020 CSAT paper. I've done a session a couple of days back on that channel where I did a session on the CSAT reasoning questions. You can have a look at that on the Arun Sharma Academy. Or aaj mein maybe I guess I would be free by around 10:30, 11. So maybe an hour and a half later, I might just come in for 20 minutes and do maybe 4 or 5 questions on the Arun Sharma Academy. ठीक है, कल शाम को we'll have it around 8:39 only. ठीक है, tomorrow evening for the Q&A. नहीं, कल we'll have to complete this course. So tomorrow we'll do this course first, and then we'll do the Q&A after that. Chalo. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this and you found this valuable. I know a lot of you did, but I hope you can understand the value of this in terms of your next 40 years of life. Chalo. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. My presence, Animesh. That's it. I mean, that I would always bet for myself. Chalo. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.